Okay, so we have a very nice and interesting question here under the equation of a circle. Now, our goal here is to find the center and radius of the circle with the following equations. So we have circle A, circle B, and then circle C. But even before we start solving this particular question, let's do a quick review of what we learned in our first lesson. Now, we saw that the general equation of a circle is always of the form x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equal to 0. So this is the general form of the equation of a given circle. There is always a term for x squared, there is a term for y squared, there is a term for x, there is a term for y, there is a constant term, and then everything is set to 0. We also saw that the center of the circle will always be giving us minus g minus f, where minus g will be the x coordinate of the center, and then minus f will be the y coordinate of the center. And then finally, we also saw that the radius is given by the formula square root of g squared plus f squared minus c. So this is just a quick review of what we learned in our first lesson. So with this information, I hope you should be able to solve A, B, and then C. So now let's begin with the first equation. That is circle A. So with circle A, we have x squared plus y squared plus 8x minus 2y minus 8 being equal to 0. Remember, our goal here is to find the center and the radius of this particular circle. Now, to find the center and radius of the circle, we need 3 things. Now, the first thing is that we need the value of g, we need the value of f, we also need the value of the constant 10. Then, with our formulas, we should be able to find the center and the radius. So now, let's do some comparison. We are comparing circle A to the general equation of a circle. So you can see that we have our x squared term, we have our s squared term here, we have a term for y squared, a term for y squared. Now, in the general equation of a circle, what is the coefficient of x? So the coefficient of x is 2g. With circle A, the coefficient of x is 8. So 2g must be equal to 8. Remember, we are solving for g. So we divide both sides by 2. So we have our g as 4. Our g here is 4. So next, now that we have our g, let's also solve for f. Now in the general equation, the coefficient of y is 2f. In circle A, the coefficient of y is minus 2. So since we are looking for f, we can divide both sides by 2. So we have f as negative negative 1. And then finally, we are to find our constant term. And our constant term here is C. That is for the general equation of a circle. The constant term is represented as C. And then the constant term in circle A is minus 8. So now all is set. We have our G, we have our F, we have our C. So what will be the center of this particular circle? So the center would be minus G minus F. So we had G as 4, so the X coordinate will be minus 4. And then the Y coordinate, F here is minus 1. So we have to negate F. So negative of minus 1, that will give us positive 1. So that is the center. Now radius. Remember the formula for finding the radius. Said that to calculate the radius, that is G squared plus F squared minus C, all of this expression inside the square root. But we had our G here as 4, so we have 4 squared plus F here is minus 1, so minus 1 all squared. Then remember we have minus C, and then C here is minus 8, so we have minus of minus 8, and that will give us plus 8. So our radius will be, so let's compute this, 4 squared plus minus 1 squared plus 8. We have 25. So the radius here is square root of 25. And then square root of 25 is 5 units. So for circle A, the center is giving us minus 4, 1. And the radius is 5 units. Let's also do that of circle B. So circle B, we have the equation x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 14y, and this must be equal to minus 49. Again, let's compare circle B to the general equation of a circle. We see that we have our x squared term, we have our y squared term, we have the x term, we have our y term. What is missing here is a constant term. Here, there is no constant term here. I could see that a constant term has been moved to the right hand side. So we need to rearrange this to have the constant term and then equate everything to 0 as we have in the general equation of a circle. So we have x squared plus y squared minus 6x plus 14y. Then we send minus 49 to the left. It becomes plus 49, and this must be equal to 0. So now again, all is set. We have our x squared term, our y squared term, we have a term for x, a term for y, we have our constant, and everything is set to 0. So with this, we can solve for G, F, and then C. So in the general equation of a circle, the coefficient of x is 2g, and again in circle B, the coefficient of x is minus 6. Since we are solving for g, we divide both sides by 2. So our g here is negative 3. Next, the general equation of a circle, the coefficient of y is 2f. And again, in circle B, the coefficient of y is 14. Since we are looking for f, we can divide both sides by 2. So our f here is 7. Lastly, we need our constant term. So the constant term here is c. So c is equal to, the constant term here is 49. All is set. So we can begin with the center. Remember, the center is given by minus g minus f. So minus of minus 3, positive 3, and then minus of 7. That is minus 7. And then the radius. Recall the formula. The radius is the square root of g squared. So g squared here is minus 3 all squared plus f squared. F here is positive 7, so positive 7 squared. And then minus c. So c here is 40. So let's compute this. Minus 3 squared plus 7 squared minus 49. So we have square root of 9. Then square root of 9 will give us 3 units. So that is for circle B. The center is located at 3 minus 7. And the radius is 3 units. So now let's also find that of circle C. Circle C. So with circle C, we have the equation 4x squared plus 4y squared minus 12x minus 8y being equal to negative 9. Remember, the general equation of a circle is always of the form x squared plus y squared plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equal to 0. So now, by comparing, what do you see? For the general equation of a circle, there is an x squared there. But here, we have 4x squared. We have y squared. Here we have 4y squared. So we have to reduce it in such a way that the coefficient of both x squared and then y squared should be 1. So how can we do that? We can do that by dividing each term here by 4. Each term should be divided by 4. We are dividing each term by 4. So we have x squared plus y squared, then minus 12 on 4. That will give us minus 3x. We have minus 2y, and this must be equal to minus 9 on 4. Again, with the general equation of a circle, everything is equated to 0. So with this, we see that there is no constant term. The constant term has been shifted to the right. So again, we need to rearrange to get our constant term. So we have x squared plus y squared minus 3x minus 2y plus 9 on 4 equal to 0. So now all is set. All is set. So let's compare the coefficient of x in the general equation to the coefficient of x in circle C. So the coefficient of x in the general equation is 2x. But here the coefficient of x is minus 3. Because we are looking for g, we divide both sides by 2. So we have our g as minus 3 on 2. Next, we know that the coefficient of y in the general equation is 2f. The coefficient of y in circle C is minus 2. Again, we divide both sides by 2. We have our f as minus 1. Lastly, our constant term. So the constant term here is C. And comparing to circle C, the constant term here is 9 on 4. So we have all the information that will guide us to calculate the center and the radius of the circle. Remember, we said the center of the circle will always be located as minus g minus f. Our g here is minus 3 on 2. So minus 3 on 2, we have positive 3 on 2. And the minus of minus 1, we have positive 1. Then the radius. So the radius, we have the square root of g squared. So g is minus 3 on 2 all squared plus f squared. So minus 1 all squared. And then minus c, which is 9 out of 4. So finally, our radius will be, so let's compute this, minus 3 on 2 squared plus 1 squared minus 9 on 4. So the whole of this is giving me 1. The whole of this is giving me 1. So we have square root of 1. And then the square root of 1 is simplified as 1. So the length of the radius here is 1 unit. So for circle C, its center is located at 3 on 2, 1. And then the radius is 1 unit long. This brings us to the end of lesson 2. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. See you next time.